Hello, my name's Dan Snow, and I'd like to talk to you about History Hit. No, this is World of Tanks with PR154. Now, before we get into the gameplay review of the premium Tier 7 German tank destroyer E25, I'd just like to direct you to my Wix article, which I penned just to describe the features of this vehicle in a lot more detail in a different sort of format to the old YouTube format. I will put the link to this article in the description below. Now, hopefully you're catching this video from that Wix article, in which case, thank you for reading. But if you've yet to read it, we do go into a bit more detail about the tank, so please be sure to check it out. In the meantime, please enjoy this video. Hey tankers, and welcome back to World of Tanks with PR154, where we're doing a bit of a breakdown of the premium Tier 7 German tank destroyer E25. Now, this is a tank that is a little bit controversial, and it's just come back on sale yesterday, which is going to be today at the time of recording, but anyway. And I just want to get in before the keyboard warriors start mashing away and say, right, that E25, they said they were never going to sell it again. You know, they're a pack of lying assholes. Well, that's a bit of a misconception. What they did do was pull it out of sale back in 2015, mostly because there were just so damn many of them in the ecosystem. This is still World of Tanks in its infancy. They didn't have quite the range of tanks that they have today. And what they found is there were just too many cockroaches running around in the matchmaker. So it had been pulled from sale. It did make a couple of reappearances later on through some special events. Even came up in the Holiday Ops 2019-2020 loot boxes. But ultimately did return to full-time sale in early 2020. So there was an opportunity for people to actually own this tank for the first time in about 5 years if they wanted to stump up the coin to do so. So it's an unusual vehicle. It probably the standout characteristics are its concealment values. You have actually not the best concealment value for a Tier 7 tank destroyer, but it's still pretty good. Your on the move concealment also quite good. In fact, the only Tier 7 tank destroyer that has sort of equivalent-ish camouflage is the Chinese tank destroyer. But it just doesn't have anywhere near the mobility of this tank. This tank goes forward 65 kilometers per hour, reverses at 20, and has quite a massive power to weight ratio, so you can realize that top speed quite promptly as well. Even though vehicles like Scorpion have high power to weight ratio and Super Hellcat has faster forward mobility, on the whole, E25 just feels like a much more maneuverable vehicle. This is also aided by very high rotational mobility. You get 44 degrees per second on rotational mobility, so it's going to make it really difficult for enemy vehicles to try to circle jerk you. Certainly without putting a tracking shot in, at least. So we've got fantastic concealment when we're hidden. When we're static, that's about 25%. Moving concealment is about 15%, but the standout characteristic is your concealment after firing, which is over 8% and can be further enhanced by crew skills and equipment and directives and all that sort of thing, which will enable you to basically start firing and continue firing with impunity. Now, as a vehicle, you really need that with E25 because the gun really isn't much to write home about. It's only a 75mm gun, hitting for about 135 hit points a shot, which is quite low for a Tier 7 tank destroyer. Furthermore, it also has the weakest penetration both on the standard AP rounds and the premium APCR rounds for Tier 7 tank destroyers. You penetrate for 150mm on the AP. The APCR, allow me to remind myself, 194mm. The equivalent shells on other tanks are still a hell of a lot higher than that. Fortunately, the gun is quite accurate. You've got a base dispersion of 0.29 meters per 100 meters. Your dynamic dispersion characteristics aren't too bad either. But what you do get is quite a high rate of fire, quite good damage per minute. You get 2,700 base damage per minute or thereabouts, because you're sending one of those 75mm shells, dealing 135 hit points of damage, downrange every 2.9 seconds as a base. So it's accurate, it's got a high rate of fire, and you've got the concealment rating to enable you to keep firing, provided that you're provided that you're doing it sensibly. You're going to struggle if you're in the middle of a field. You do want to bush up in some description. Distance is also your friend, and you've got an accurate enough gun to make the distance work. I'm just trying to aim a little bit more carefully at this self-propelled gun, but not able to catch it there. We do have a few more pressing threats in front of us here. We're looking to see what is this Super Hellcat doing? Is it aiming at us? Well, it's kind of aiming in our direction, but they've got the WZ-131 GFT up the clacker. Alright, last in this area is the Dicker Max, and it puts a rather snappy shot into us. We return fire twice and knock it out. We did lose our commander in that engagement, but unfortunately we don't really need them just at this minute. Managing to clip the Jagdpanzer IV on the way through. So yeah, I guess that's E25 in a nutshell. It's a sort of tank destroyer with some I guess some unconventional characteristics. Its concealment certainly serving it well. Now, if you, I guess where it diverges from being able to play as a tank destroyer compared to the more conventional setting of tank destroyers is really down to that penetration. Unlike most tank destroyers, which are typically characterized by either high damage, high penetration, a bit of a combination of both, you couldn't set E25 up on a heavy line, often because the enemies downrange of you are going to have armor that can defeat your shells. So you're tending to find you are trying to set up on those lines that might be more medium or light tank lines, trying to intercept them and knock them out, or you might be trying to use your mobility to get into a forward position. That then enables you to put flanking fire into those sides of the enemy where your lax penetration doesn't worry us too much. Swing and a miss on the FV201, but our follow-up shot 3 seconds later manages to send it back to its garage. Let's take a quick look at those results. So focusing a little bit more on the aspects of the tank rather than the game there, but we did manage to score a win out there on Ruinberg for our troubles getting a level 2 mastery badge, and also picking up the fighter medal for accounting for at least 4 enemy kills. In this case, we actually managed to come home with 5 kills. We also got the Fire for Effect medal for doing at least more damage than the hit points of our vehicle, in this case nearly 1600 damage inflicted on the enemy. Our spotting game wasn't too bad either, with nearly 500 spotting damage accrued. We found for our efforts there we did place top by experience, although it was that was a pole position that was quite hotly contested. Our WZ-131 GFT, who inflicted nearly 2,300 hit points of damage on the enemy team, was also sort of sitting roughly where we were as well. A special mention on the enemy team to the T-25-2 and Oni, who are defending their respective corners as well. I expect they were more engaged in the city side of Ruinberg, so we didn't actually get to see them. Having a look at the economics, which is an important consideration for premium tanks, we've got 45,000 credits that we've netted that game, because we didn't really need to dip into our premium, and we did have a little bit of a repair bill there. But overall, quite a profitable tank. Arguably, the premium ammunition on E25 is also quite cheap. I think it comes in at maybe 2,800 credits per shot. But having said that, when you work that out against the actual damage that you inflict, it's not that much of a bargain. So I'd certainly try to encourage flanking tactics, or finding other ways to contribute to the game than slapping the 2 key straight away, if you can help it. Let's take a look at another one, because I don't want to just leave it here at thumping enemy from top tier. And this one I wanted to show you because it really does highlight the scouting ability of this vehicle if you let it. Now in this case, there aren't any light tanks on the field, so we've loaded into Ruinberg, and what we really want to do is take advantage of the high concealment rating of this vehicle. Its view range is actually pretty average as far as Tier 7 tank destroyers are concerned, and certainly subpar compared to Tier 7 light tanks. But we don't have any Tier 7 light tanks to worry about, although we are bottom tiered on this particular engagement, and sadly it appears we have lost our engine noise. So we've gone wide here on Ruinberg. We're hoping to spot any enemy vehicles on the way in. Roll up to this bush, having not been seen on the way in, didn't see anything else on the way in, and there we have a enemy FV42. That's the Tier 8 Premium British medium tank. Potentially a sensible position for the FV4202. They are going to be somewhat capable of being able to ride this ridge in the middle. So they have, I suppose, been aware that they were spotted on the way in, and probably rightly deduced that that spotting was coming from one of the bushes. We've also pulled back off that ridge, because what we didn't want to happen was a situation where FV4202 is proxy spotting us. And we end up sort of being too close to the top of the ridge and attracting fire from down in this area. So we've pulled off slightly. Currently looking for opportunities to actually engage these enemies down in E5, F5, but they're all pretty well tucked away. We have been able to poke that ridge, and we've seen the FV4202 is now being reinforced by the T25-on-2. So looking for a couple of the tank destroyers in behind us to really do the damage there. We only have 8 degrees of gun depression on E25, so that is going to be quite a considerable exposure that we have to make in order to start getting our gun into the game. Now, we've only collected about 340 odd hit points of assist damage at this point in time, but we've certainly blocked that FV4202 from advancing any further. We're also getting eyes on this Chi-Ri that's over in C2, so they're probably going to struggle to have any meaningful effect on the battle. Things are going well for the team in the city there. We are overall 3 guns up. Although when you look at how the vehicles have spread out, the enemy certainly has a lot more potential to engage some of our vehicles in a sort of 1v1 combat. The FV4202 has been reacquired near the bunker, and it's sort of trying to work that corner. We can see our friendly Scorpion has repositioned down to K1 to really try to get an angle on the British medium tank. But no further activity on this flank. Actually, I'll bite my tongue there. We've got the Scorpion, the M56 Scorpion, not the German Scorpion, is making a play, and it's also been picked up possibly by the Stura Mill. That looked like a Stura Mill's worth of damage, and a near miss by artillery. So little opportunity there for the Tier 7 tank destroyer to come in and start contesting that ridge. Chi-Ri also making a play, so we're potentially getting 3 enemy vehicles stacking up in close proximity, bearing in mind that FV4202 is actually yet to take any damage. But Between the Stura Mill and the Scorpion, the Chi-Ri certainly feeling quite a bit of pain there. FV4202 still in lockdown. And the enemy heavy push in the city appears to have sort of gravitated more towards the 6 line, but in that particular area there appear to be a few more friendly tanks that are able to force a bit of crossfire. Now at this point in time, we haven't been seen. We haven't moved at all. My finger is firmly on the right mouse button to just stop these tracks from rotating. Of course, I could also dab the X key, and the X key would also enable the gun to move freely but lock the tracks in place. The FV4202 has decided we've had enough of this. We're getting out of here, and they've started taking a bit of damage. So there's a tracking shot from the Scorpion, follow-up shot from the Stura Mill. That's knocked off a neat 300. Possibly the T25 too has followed up, leaving that FV4202 in a fairly sick hit point position, a shadow of its former self. It was at 1400 when we first saw it. Artillery not quite managing to land, but the T25 on 2 really messing it up. Only 114 hit points left on that guy. Our friendly Scorpion G is currently making a move. Now bear in mind we've not caused a skerrick of damage so far this battle. We've just used our mobility to get into this forward position nice and early. We've been able to pick up the spots and literally stall out 4 enemy tanks from having any meaningful effect on the battlefield here today. The team has been able to knock out all of the enemy heavy tanks in the city, and now they're in that, I guess, somewhat awkward phase of trying to push out of the city where the enemy team might have advantage of cover. Of course, the Progetto is doing a fantastic job here of lighting up enemy vehicles, and artillery certainly servicing some of those harder to reach targets at the back of the map. We've got our friendly Scorpion working in behind us, and at this point in time I'm really hoping that they don't poke up behind me and end up getting me to take a bullet, after we've just been so careful all game just to not move. Now, as it stands, I would have a base concealment rating of about 26%. That's likely been improved by the crew skills. Scorpion makes a hit, we make a move, we fire, we miss, and unfortunately we've taken 3 shots from the Chi-Ri and a bit of a finishing move there from the Su-152. So unfortunately 0 damage inflicted that game, but quite a decent swath of spotting damage. The T-52 and Leo move up on the Chi-Ri, but it's the Scorpion that managed to knock it out. Last enemy alive being the Su-130PM and the M12, which the T-34 2GFT making short work of the M12, and Progetto 46 knocking out the Su-130PM. Let's have a quick look at those results. So despite causing exactly 0 damage, we've actually picked up a level 3 mastery badge and the spotter medal for enabling allies to cause at least 1,000 hit points of damage in one battle. In this case, over 4,000 damage, over 4,000 spotting assist that we've inflicted on the enemy team. Just I guess using the high concealment, decent view range, again 360 meters base view range, which can be improvable through various commander skills and equipment, and just avoiding moving and shooting. In fact, it wasn't until we sort of started moving and shooting that we ended up no longer having an influence on the battle there. So I guess another practical application for E25. Having a look at the team scores, we actually placed 4th by experience for our efforts there, so we must have been doing something right. Of course, top honours going to the Progetto AMX M4 Military U49 and the WZ111 Alpine Tiger, who were playing quite effectively through the city there. Having a look at the detailed report, very cheap battle for us as far as ammunition goes. We only fired 1 shot and it missed. Sadly unable to knock out the Chi-Ri and hopefully survive a little longer in that battle. But again, we netted nearly 52,000 credits for our efforts there. So quite an efficient little tank and a very fun tank to play. Now, does it hold up in today's meta? Well, I would suggest that position that I took would have been quite fraught with danger had I encountered enemy wheeled vehicles, and I think enemy wheeled vehicles possibly impacted the way that E25 plays today, the way versus how it might have done in the past, particularly where you might have been trying to overcome its low penetration by going to a deep flanking position and turning around and hoping that the bushes around you would give you the concealment to protect you while you're firing. Unfortunately, I guess it's all too easy today for a wheeled vehicle to simply do a pass at you, light you up, and then that's going to be the end of the end of E25. I think it, for all those characteristics, though, it still holds up. It does force you to play an inherently more passive game at the front end. But either way, we've been managing to maintain a solid impact on the battlefield wherever we go. Now, again, I have put together a fairly detailed article covering the pros, cons, and perks and liabilities of the E25. So please do check it out. I'll paste the link in the description below, or hopefully you are catching this video from that particular Wix article, in which case, thanks for swinging by. In the meantime, take care out there.